pages he'd done where Prince Valiant threw away his sword and renounced being Prince Valiant. And I looked at it and go, you know, that'd be kind of a neat thing for He-Man to kill somebody and he gives up being He-Man. Actually, there's a sequence when he throws the board away that it was sort of an homage to those Prince Valiant pages. If you looked at the pages and looked how I staged it, was very much trying to play off of what had been done in there. And it wasn't just being a lazy storyboard artist and how I can just trace this thing somehow, but it was actually trying to play off of that. And I thought Forward did a really good job in turning it into a story that was, I thought had a lot of impact and felt like different than the other shows.
Today I broke a promise and proved myself unworthy the great power that was given me. And if I am unworthy, I can no longer permit myself to be He-Man. Let the power return!
I brought the Wind Raider, Adam. Let's go home.
The only restriction we had, it came down that we couldn't kill somebody, so it became a story about, I believe, Skeletor impersonated somebody and pretended he was killed. But that wasn't major. Somebody dying was not what it's all about. It was more trying to get that kind of story about the responsibility of power and what it means to you, and that's the message to get across to the viewer.
Is he?
There is no heartbeat. He's dead.
He was my brother. You killed him, He-Man. You killed him.
It's your fault, He-Man. You did it.
On the problem with power, Bob Forward was a writer at that point. He had been doing really pretty neat things with the He-Man scripts he was writing. And we had worked together a lot, and I pitched him the idea and he wanted to write it, and it never really occurred to me to try to write it. Bob wanted to write it, and that seemed just fine with me because I think he's a terrific writer. Nowadays I might take a crack at it, but it just felt like such a significant idea and that it had actually gotten approved that there's no doubt in my mind Bob did it better than I would have ever written it. When Bob Forward and I were talking about doing Problem with Power, I had been talking to Gwen Wetzler previously, and she'd worked on, and she'd directed a few of my the shows I storyboarded. We worked for the directors. Directors didn't work for us. Let's make that clear. And she had been talking. She wanted to do a show that had emotional content. She wanted to do this. She was working with an animator, a female animator that was real good at the sensitive scenes. It was Crystal Russell at the time. She later became Crystal Klabundi. She was very good at that. I had worked with her with Ralph Bakshi on Fire and Ice, and she was very good at sensitive acting scenes. But it just required somebody that could do that. And so I told her what we were up to, and I think Forward talked to her. We couldn't request a director, but you can do a lot of jockeying in the schedule when you're doing that many shows. And I believe Bob Arkwright actually put it here so it would go to her.
Teela's gone off on a dangerous mission, and only He-Man could save her now, but no, I can never become He-Man again. I misused the power and a man died. No, never again, never again.
Adam! Adam!
Orko?
Of course it's me. Oh, sorry. Adam, what are you doing? You have to become He-Man. Skeletor's...
I've given up being He-Man, Orko. After what happened in the village...
It was a trick. A dirty, rotten trick. The villager and his brother were Tataran and Skeletor in disguise.
What? Orko, are you sure?
Yes, I am, Adam. He-Man didn't hurt anyone. It was all a trick.
Oh, no. Oh, this is terrible.
Terrible? I thought you'd be happy to hear this.
I am, but you don't understand. Because He-Man wasn't around, Teela just went off on a dangerous mission.
Well, let's go get her. Pull the old magic sword and...
That's the problem, Orko. I don't have the sword. I threw it into the bottomless abyss.
I was fairly new, I think. The reason why I did so many shows is that we all started out on a rotation basis. Lou did that purposely to keep the look of the show and all his shows the same. In other words, you had maybe anywhere from 5 to 8 directors, and we would take turns handing out a show. So when the animators came along, if they had finished up your work and you had no more to give them, they went to the next one. We had a list on our doors as to who was handing out. So in other words, all the guys in rotation worked on all the shows. The directors, of course, they did their own thing. They had their own mark on each show, their own style. But the animation was pretty uniform because of that. And so we would take those shows in rotation, but I found out what was happening. The storyboard guys would see the dailies, and they liked what I was doing. And I think they would hold back scripts sometimes until my rotation came up. And then they would scoot it in.
He-Man,
Yes, Tila?
you can put me down now.
If you don't feel up to walking, I could carry you back. It's no trouble, you know.
He-Man, I'm fine. Trust me.
I trust you, but to be on the safe side, maybe I should carry you part of the way.
What good will carrying me part of the way do?
I don't know, I just thought...
Season 2 of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Top 5 episode number 1. Finally, the #1 best episode of Season 2, Origin of the Sorceress, written by J. Michael Straczynski and directed by Marsh Lamore. Origin of the Sorceress was the 73rd produced episode of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Well, Man-at-Arms hasn't come out of his laboratory for days, working on his new invention. Must be something really special.
Just can't stand the suspense, huh?
In this fan-favorite episode, the enigmatic sorceress shares her origin with He-Man, telling him how she originally came to Castle Grayskull to protect her village against Morgoth the Terrible.
See for yourself.
Wow, it's a horse.
His name is Stridor. He has terrific strength and a computer system that can detect trouble quickly.
And guess who's now back to get his revenge?
I'm very pleased to know that the Origin of the Sorceress episode has been considered one of the better ones, or one of the best ones. That's probably my favorite episode of all those that I had written, because it does take a very serious storyline, and it does show the sacrifices that she made to obtain that position. In the show, she tended to be the Deus Ex Machina, the God in the box that comes in to help resolve things. But I wanted to show who she was and the tragic part to her character, having given up so much to fill that role. And that was a very expensive episode to produce. There was so much in the way of action and new sets and locations. But Arthur believed in the episode, and everyone else did as well. And it's one that I'm probably the most proud of.
A falcon. Excellent. I can fly. But how do I turn back? What do I do? Concentrate. Think. Change. That's it. I'm different. As I told you, from this day on, you shall ever be the sorceress.
I've always liked magical characters, and too often they get to be misused as just plot solvers. And I thought, here's this person who's been living in this castle for hundreds of years potentially, and never leaves. How did she get to that position? Who was she before she took that on? We all come from somewhere, we all go somewhere. Where did she come from? And as I winnowed back that trail and expanded to her original name, Tila-Na, I thought, here's someone who learned this skill, this power, from someone else. Who gave her that? Why did they pass it on? Again, what does she want to do? She wants to pass on her power. Who does she give it to? Tila-Na. How far will she go to get that power and then use it? And it became a very personal story in that respect for the character. And I saw the actress not long after doing the voice track by sheer accident in the hallway. And she thanked me for that, because no one had ever answered for her where this character came from and who she was. And the acting